ECAN Nation. Welcome to This Week in Karting on the ECAN Radio Network. It is June 3rd, 2024. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean as we are recording episode number 78. As This Week in Karting hits all the major news that has been on the ECAN homepage and social media over essentially the last month, since it's been a little bit since we've been in the broadcast studio for This Week in Karting. Again, you can catch all the ECAN Radio Network and podcasts anywhere you download your podcast. And again, great for listening to and from work, at the shop, or even on the way to the racetrack as well. This show is presented by Rollison Performance Group. At the Rollison Performance Group, we strive for ultimate success. We're more than just an arrive and drive race team with countless wins on the national and regional level. Our focus is on complete driver development, and that's where the success is fueled. We combine one-on-one coaching, on-track instruction, and intensive data debriefing with unparalleled kart and engine prep. Our program will help you raise your game. We'll take you to the next level. If that's your goal, RPG needs to be your next move. Experience the Rollison difference. Our last show was April 29, 2024. It was episode 77. So it has been over a month since we've been in the This Week in Karting broadcast studio, but because it's been a busy program. We had United States Pro Kart Series, Nate, and then of course Memorial Weekend. So a lot had happened during the always busy month of May.
Yeah, absolutely. Always. May seemingly is when the karting calendar for most regional and national stuff really starts to kick off. And you add the likes of Indy 500 and, like you said, Memorial Weekend and all that. So it gets a little cramped for us. But back again in the studio to talk about some more happenings in karting today.
Yeah, we had other podcasts. We returned face to face. So we had other content to include on the ECAN Radio Network. So, but getting back to This Week in Karting, as we are now into the month of June, and we're again already looking at the 2025 season, even though we're not even halfway through 2024, as Challenge of the Americas has updated their program for the 2025 season. Nate, they're going to be expanding to 4 events next season.
You said the 18th season, expanding to that 4-weekend format. Don't have tracks yet, but of course we do have dates for what will be a best of 7 2025 campaign for them. Opening things off January 31st through February 2nd. Second weekend going from March 14th to the 16th. Then you got April 25th through the 27th, and making their way into June for 2025, the 13th and the 15th for their final weekend.
Yeah, so starting around the same time as they did this season, that beginning weekend in February, but as you said, extending into June, which is the extension, a later April date as well too. I believe it's about a 6-week spread between all the events. So that's essentially what Andy Seisman, the promoter, is looking to do. And again, Challenge in America is basically the premier West Coast series. There's nothing else really happening in terms of major events going on the West Coast, aside from a lot of the regional programs that are happening. You got the Pacific Northwest, so you got a little bit in NorCal, and then Southern California. And of course, in Arizona, you got a lot of club racing going on. So again, Challenge in America is expanding to 4 events in 2025. You got to assume there's going to be an Arizona race. There's going to be one or at least 2 California races. It's that 4th race weekend in June. I have an idea of where they're going, but nothing's official yet. So again, we'll be waiting for Andy Seisman to make that official as we get closer and closer to 2025 being only the month of June in 2024. So yeah, that'll be exciting to see. And again, they moved over to the Vega tires this year. So that was something new for the challenge. So that entering its 18th season, that's something you're seeing with his program is evolving. They've been Rotax, they've been Rock. Now they're kind of independent, Nate. That's kind of what you have to do a little bit with our sport because of the way it evolves. 4-cycle is big now at the club level, where 2-cycle used to be back in the 90s. So a lot's continuing to change in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Challenge of the Americas adapting to that quite well. And like you said, it's really the premier karting series over on the West Coast, where on the East Coast side of things and our side, it seems like you have countless options where over on the West Coast, not as much traveling a series apart from the likes of Coda and the SCUSA Pro Kart Challenge. But again, good to see them expand into 4 weekends. They're just slowly starting to build the momentum that series has been getting the past couple of years. So excited to see what they have in 2025.
Yeah, and speaking of premier events, the premier karting event in North America has become the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals. The 27th edition will be run this year. SuperKarts USA confirming November 13th through the 17th at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as the location and dates for this year's Super Nationals. Again, the one of the most attended event in North America in terms of karting. You get it, tons of international drivers, over 500 drivers in attendance overall. It's an amazing event. We love going back there. This will be the third time going to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And Nate, it's going to be at a different lot. We did the east side of the speedway. Then last year we did the west side of the speedway. Now we're going to go back to the others to the east side of the speedway, but it's going to be in a different lot. I believe there's one just south of where we were in 2021 that's going to provide more space and more real estate for SuperKarts USA to put in all the tents, all the teams, and the entire racetrack itself. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Neil Strickland and Tom Kutcher next weekend when we go down to the Spring Nats to see if we can learn more about the Super Nationals this year.
Yeah, obviously going back to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, like you said, a different lot and not the same one we were in last time. It was a bit cramped for everyone, but SCUSA and everyone there did a really good job at making that work, having to split the paddock between a road. But hopefully this one is a little bit more cozy for everyone that participates. Ultimately, SCUSA are some of the best in the business, if not the best in the business for karting in the US and the world. So obviously they're going to put on a well thought out event and should be really, really excited to see what the layout looks like further on in the year, of what track configuration we get and just the details coming throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I got to hope that if it is more space that we have, you weren't at the 2017 Supernats when we were at outside the Westgate at Las Vegas Convention Center. It was one of the biggest parking lots you've ever been in, and it just seemed like with the paddock, it was so structured. This is kind of the OCD in me. It was so structured, laid out perfectly. The racetrack was over here, and I think the only thing you could add on to that was more viewing area. I think that was the biggest downfall that we had this year, was there wasn't anywhere to watch, because even if you were in the VIP area or in the grandstands right next to it, you could only really see what was happening right there. Otherwise, you had to rely on the board. So it was really tough to see the far end of the straightaway. So there really wasn't a spot anywhere around the facility to be able to see the entire racetrack itself. So I think that's going to be one of the key elements. Hopefully they keep that. Again, when we're at the Rio, you could pretty much see everything from where you're standing. Do you have any thoughts on like a layout? Do you think they should bring back a layout? Do you think they should change it drastically? Do you have any thoughts? Because everything's kind of open in the air right now. We haven't heard anything or gotten anything from SuperKarts USA. What are your thoughts on if it's a blank sheet of paper, what would you do for Supernats?
I think you have to add something maybe a little bit more technical than what we had last year. Obviously, the racing was really, really good last year, and what was essentially a very, very high speed circuit. But yeah, it's remembering back to the Westgate that had a bit more of a technical layout than we've had the past couple of years. So something we had there maybe translated into this year's Supernats. Not too sure. I'm not a Herman Tilke track designer, so obviously the SCUSA officials will do a much better job at making a track that races well and is safe for the drivers. But nothing that I have requested for that. But really looking forward to what they come up with.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do end up with the track layout and how the paddock's going to go and everything that encompasses the Super Nationals. Again, same classes as last year. So all those same categories coming back, but they're only going to go with 4 categories at the 88 driver mark. So you got to assume KA Senior, KA Junior are going to be 2 of those. It's probably going to be the other 2. I mean, we've seen KZ go into that the last 2 years, so that could be a possibility. And then maybe what you got to think, maybe Mini Swift could be the other one. Nate, what do you are those the 4 categories you're thinking?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, looking at how in demand some classes are, kind of flows from series to series, but you have to think with the, I don't want to say lack of shifter kart racing this year, but the Stars has had a fairly decent grid on their side. Scoos has had a decent size field for them, obviously with PKS dropping that, and with all of the international drivers that come over for this event, especially in the pro shifter category. You have to think that's going to be one of those that is going to have some pretty high entry marks.
Yeah, I think KZ, the 2KA categories, and it could be a race between X30 Pro and Mini Swift to be the 4th category. Again, if they were to cut X30 Pro down into just 44 drivers, I don't see that happening, because again, Super Nats is that big international event, but we do have the numbers in the cadet categories where they could have expanded both of them, really, to be honest, because all season long we've seen big numbers both in micro and mini. So that'll be the interesting part. But all that will come to July 2nd, when registration does open for the SuperKarts USA Super Nationals 27. So more details coming from SuperKarts USA on that later, along with the host hotel information coming soon for the Super Nationals. So with that, we'll head into our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a lot of things happening at Margay Racing and their Ignite program.
In this day and age, if you need something for your karting program, it's just one mouse click away. One of the leading online stores in the sport of karting is tsracing.com. The Florida-based company has been serving the karting community for decades. TS Racing is one of the few kart shops with technical expertise in all divisions of karting. TS Racing's online superstore features a full range of the products you need to start karting today, or to restock your garage or trailer for the racing season. TS Racing is also the official distributor for Vega tires. For dirt, road racing, sprint, and the most popular 4-cycle tire with Cup Karts North America, a wide range of Vega compounds and sizes are available for your karting needs. Head over to tsracing.com today or call 352-793-9600 to learn more about the Vega tire brand or the many products that they have at TS Racing.
Are you ready to go from karts to cars? Since 1975, the Skip Barber Racing School has taken great drivers and made them champions. Today, we're proud to welcome the next generation of winners. Make the transition from karts to cars with the Skip Barber Formula Race Series. You'll compete at the most iconic tracks in America. Race weekends include your very own equalized Formula 4 race car, a professional crew, expert instruction, video and data analysis, hospitality, and more. This is the place to fulfill your dream of becoming a champion. Sign up today by calling 866-932-1949 or visit us at skipbarber.com.
It's back. The park is back. The Quincy Grand Prix has produced many legends of the sport. Trader, Evans, Pruitt, Haddock, and McMurray, to name but a few. After being absent for the karting calendar in 2023, the Quincy Grand Prix is set for a return in 2024 and will be held over the June 8 to 9 weekend. First held in 1970, the 35th edition of the Quincy Grand Prix is set to tackle the beautiful 1.2-mile circuit that is laid out inside the South Park of Quincy, Illinois. Every inch of the course will be lined by over 10,000 spectators who will flock to the park to take in 2 days of racing, featuring categories for Vintage, Briggs 206, Ignite, 100cc 2-cycle, and shifter karts. Several special activities will take place over the weekend, both on and off the track, with karting as the headline show. 7 main events will take place on Saturday, with 15 races on Sunday, including the 3 pro categories that will pay out $1,000 to the winner. Registration is now open, so don't wait, and enter now at QuincyGrandPrix.com and become legendary. We'll see you at the park.
And welcome back to This Week in Karting, episode number 78. It is June 3rd, 2024. I'm David Cole, joined by Nate Dean, as we are bringing you the new episode presented by Rollison Performance Group. Nate, we're getting into some news coming from Margay Racing and their Ignite program over the last month. A big partnership formed with them and Skip Barber Racing School, as they formed a partnership moving forward. And they're going to be providing either Ignite Challenge or Ignite Major drivers receiving a VIP access to IMSA events, as well as $6,000 credit towards their GT Racing School. So a big promotion going between Skip Barber and Margay. They're going to try and get some of these grassroots racers up into cars and get some car experience, or just enjoying VIP access to some of the IMSA events that they do have going. Skip Barber, both open wheel and sports car, they basically provide everything to teach you how to handle things behind the wheel, be it any type of vehicle that you're driving.
Yeah, and obviously Skip Barber and Margay have had a bit of a relationship in the past, so nice to see that being strengthened, along with not really bringing IMSA in as a partner, but offering something for those events. We saw IMSA partner with the IME Grands a couple years ago, so it could be cool further down the line if Margay, Skip Barber, and IMSA put something together and shorten that path from karts to cars for drivers.
Yeah, and again, a great way to do that is through the Skip Barber Racing School, get experience behind the wheel of car at Skip Barber. So a great transition to get people more involved in car racing from karting, where we see a lot, if not all, the drivers in professional motorsports coming from karts at one time. Their continuation with Skip Barber includes the presenting sponsor of the new Margay Ignite Grand Prix Cup, which is going to encompass 3 different street races in 2024. So kind of a cool little program to recognize the Ignite Senior and Ignite Masters drivers that will be competing at these 3 unique street races that have been around for a long time. Quincy Grand Prix, one of them, now hosting their 35th edition coming up this weekend, June 8th through the 9th. So still time to be part of the Quincy Grand Prix. Elkhart Grand Prix, which will be in northern Indiana, that's held on August 2nd through the 3rd. And then the famed Rock Island Grand Prix Labor Day weekend, August 31st through September 1. Again, all this through their Ignite program. So Ignite Senior and Ignite Masters categories are those that are going to be kind of like a F1 style format with points and over these 3 events. So giving the street racing fans or drivers and competitors an opportunity to kind of something that's done before. They used to have with USAC Racing a program between all 3 street races. So Margay is amping that back up with support from Skip Barber Racing School. Yeah,
it's really cool to see. Kind of like you said, to have all those 3, what used to be one-off races as essentially a championship now for Margay Ignite, and what they've been doing for their own program and for 206 racing, along with pretty much every series they touch, has been obviously really good for the sport. And you said starting things off with Quincy this weekend, also going to the Elkhart Grand Prix, and then the street race of all street races in the United States, the Rock Island Grand Prix later on in the year.
Yeah, a great promotion tool for all 3 events to be able to utilize. Again, street racing is becoming more and more difficult with the amount of restrictions that are getting put down on different programs and promoters and karting in general. So it's great to see the cooperation between these 3 events through Margay Ignite. And again, a great program that will be presented by Skip Barber Racing School. So with that, we'll head into our next commercial break. And when we return, we're going to talk about a new kart track and update on that Rock Island Grand Prix when we return.
What brand is known around the world for its innovation and success? It is Sodi Kart. The Sodi brand returned in full force during the 2023 season thanks to the new exclusive importer, the Karting Distribution, led by industry veteran Terry Germanovich. The French manufacturer Sodi Kart is a leader within the karting industry, offering a wide range of products and services. The Sodi Racing chassis line offers product in classes from mini karts to KZ, all based on years of development and championship seasons around the world. Sodi Racing USA has expanded its dealer network over the last year, bringing the Sodi brand to several local clubs and regional programs. The Sodi Racing USA by PK Sports is the official race team, producing many victories in different levels across the board. And the new Pro Race Academy is designed to cater to the next generation of motor racing, helping boys and girls aiming to make their mark. Visit Sodi-Racing-USA.com to learn more about Sodi Kart chassis or call 954-634-5111 to become part of the Sodi Racing USA network today. Sodi Kart, the world leader in the karting industry. Run by the racers, for the racers. The Pad Holder Super Cup Series is gearing up for an exciting 2024 season, both in sprint and road racing. Make sure you're a part of either championship program promoted by the Northwest Karting Association, one of the longest-standing organizations in the Pacific Northwest. The sprint program features 5 race weekends, which began at the Tri-City Kart Club outside Richland, Washington in April. The program will travel to the Mac Track outside Portland in May before heading to Medford in southern Oregon in June. The series heads north of the border to the home of the West Coast Kart Club in British Columbia, Canada in mid-July, before returning to Washington on the first weekend in August at the Sumas International Motorsports Academy facility. Your need for speed can be fed with the Pad Holder Super Cup Road Racing Series, which began its season at the Pacific Raceway in April. The series visits Ridge Motorsports Park on June 1st and 2nd. The third stop of the season is Oregon Raceway Park at the end of June before returning to Pacific Raceways on September 6th to 7th. Head over to nwkasupercup.com to learn more about racing against the best in the Pacific Northwest. A leading name in high-performance engines is D2 Motors. Owned and operated by karting champion Danilo Ramalho, D2 Motors can power you to the top of the podium. D2 Motors has been servicing karters in North America since 2019 and is opening its doors to teams and drivers across the national and local racing circuits. D2 Motors is offering access to superior engine technology designed to elevate performance on the track. There is no engine platform that D2 Motors has not excelled at. They are a leading Rotax service center, along with developing championship-winning power for the IAME and ROC brands. If you are seeking a competitive edge and reliability, partner with D2 Motors today. Call 954-895-6334 or visit D2 Motors Official on social media. D2 Motors, come and join the power with us.
And welcome back to This Week in Karting. David Cole and Nate Dean here providing you some news and notes from the last month in the sport of karting. It is June 3rd, 2024, recording episode 78, which is presented by Rollison Performance Group. New racetrack coming in. The Spring Mountain Karting Complex is under construction. New site just off the Spring Mountain Motor Resort and Country Club in Pahrump, Nevada, basically at about an hour away from downtown Las Vegas. Be a new karting track that is probably going to blow the minds away for everybody that gets to go and take part in this facility, because it's kind of nostalgic with their North Circuit, basically a carbon copy of what was the Xplex, which was the karting facility just south of Las Vegas Strip, where Super Nationals held its first three. Oh, let me get this right. Yes, 1999, 2000, 2001. Their first three events there. What was the Las Vegas Karting Complex when it was first named, later became known as Xplex, hosted a number of different international and national events as well too, including Challenge of the Americas during its first year back in 2008. So the Xplex North course will be just over 7/10 mile long, 28 feet wide, and have 23 feet in elevation change. So you combine that with their south track, which is just over 4/10 of a mile long, you get a total length of 1.13 miles in distance. And Nate, this is planning to open in the fall of 2024. We've already seen pictures of the paddock getting laid out. The track essentially layout has been plowed and getting ready for pavement. So this is an exciting news for the state of Nevada and the Southwest region of karting for sure.
Yeah, and like we kind of shortly talked about at the top of the show with Challenge of the Americas and West Coast karting kind of needing a little bit of an injection from the national scene. It's cool to see these kart tracks popping up more and more on the West Coast, obviously with K1 circuit that being announced a few years ago, and then finishing up hopefully soon for them, and hopefully seeing a major national go there. And then for Spring Mountain to put this one on a really, really fun looking layout. That's the word I'm looking for. That they released, and should be really, really cool for the drivers that get to go there. It's one that I'd love to go to. It looks like a really fun and challenging layout, but hopefully we get to see some West Coast series make the way over to Nevada to try and bring this track onto their calendar.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, K1 circuit, that is scheduled to be opening up late this summer. Superkarts USA kind of calling that shot with the August date there for the California Pro Kart Challenge. So hopefully, we've seen videos online with the K1 circuit. The circuit's ready. It's just everything around it and getting through the government hoops and this and that, making sure they can open and welcome people there. So hopefully that'll be opened in August and we'll be able to go there with Challenge of the Americas. But yeah, could you imagine Challenge of the Americas going both to K1 and to Spring Mountain in the same season, and then go to Sonoma and then their other racetrack as well too, that they're planning on going to. So that could be huge. And if it is opening this fall of 2024, I gotta think we need to go to Vegas a day early and make a drive out there to Spring Mountain Karting Complex and maybe sample that racetrack a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, you have to think so. If they get that done on time, that'll be fun to go and see that firsthand.
Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on it. We'll be working with the Spring Mountain Karting Complex, keeping everybody updated. I'm sure you check out all their social media. They'll probably have posts as the construction continues there, and they actually do start laying out the racetrack itself. They are going to have CRG rental carts there, so CRG picking up another racetrack where they utilize their rental carts. That'll be cool. We can sample those or sample whatever kind of rides will be there. That'll be fun to do if indeed that is open by November. Rock Island Grand Prix is continuing to evolve as well, and now into, I want to say, 29th edition. I think it's 28, to be honest. I got to double check that because of years that they missed, and obviously COVID as well too. I'll have to fact check that. But continuing to add to their prize package, which with good support from Simpson Motorsports and other partners that are making the event possible. And they're going to continue with King of the Rock 100 and King of the Street winners taking entries to the Superkarts USA Super Nationals. So great kind of pairing there. So if you do win at Rock Island Grand Prix, you get free entry into the Super Nationals in those two categories. But they're also working with now the Cup Karts North America Grand Nationals. So the winner in the King of the Rock Briggs category, along with the new Briggs Junior division, will receive entries to the Grand Nationals 8, which will be happening this October. So great story there. And then also for other winners, including Briggs Junior, Briggs Medium, Briggs Heavy, Briggs Masters, 100cc Senior, and Open Shifter, they will be receiving free entries to the SIRA Sierra Grand Prix, which is September 28th and 29th, and the Indy Speedrome Showdown, which is October 19th through 20th. So again, street racing and street racing helping each other out. This SIRA, they do a lot of street races in Indiana. So winners in those categories are going to receive free entries to those events at the end of the 2024 season. And then you add in the King Purse or King Class purses, cash prizes for the top 3 finishers, $1,000 to win any of the 3 King categories, $500 for second, and $250 for third. So a lot of prizes being doled out for the Rock Island Grand Prix in 2024.
Yeah, and with kind of connecting different series, like you said, with SCUSA entries going for King of the Rock, and then King of the Rock Briggs Junior as well, with getting CKNA Grand National entries. Obviously, that's just a really good way to try and get more and more entries in to appeal to those drivers that may be looking at those events and think, well, I kind of want to race Rock Island too, and then I have a chance to get entries for 2 of the biggest races in terms of 2-cycle and 4-cycle racing. So really fun to see from Rock Island, and we'll be looking forward to see who gets those tickets to Supernats and Spring Grand Nash.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Rock Island is actually going under a redevelopment. If you follow any of their social media on like downtown Rock Island and other stuff, they're completely redoing the area just north of where the racetrack is. So trying to welcome in arts and festival stuff, but, you know, kind of making almost like a facelift for the city and the downtown region. So excited to see that and see the progress. And hopefully some of that stuff will be done and ready to go by the time we get down there Labor Day weekend. So with that, we'll head into our final commercial break. And when we return, we'll talk about EKN editorial, EKN podcasts, EKN radio network, and more after these commercials.
Made in the USA. It's not just a statement, it's the mission at Factory Carts of America. Led by 4-time Supernats champion Billy Musgrave, Factory Carts manufactures their frames completely in-house at the Riverside, California facility. Built and designed from the ground up specifically for the American karting market, Factory Carts brings new innovations and solutions that are long overdue. Factory Carts bring together the highest quality materials to produce a high-performance, long-lasting cart that has been designed and perfected from 3 years of development, with a focus for a big push across North America in 2023. No other karting manufacturer stands behind its product like Factory Carts does, providing a 2-year warranty on all their frames. Do you remember when American made meant innovative, original, stronger, faster, and just plain better? Well, American made is back. Contact Factory Carts today to join the American made movement. Learn more by visiting factorycarts.com or email Billy anytime at info@factorycarts.com. Prepare for the adrenaline with the best handcrafted materials in karting today. That is the guarantee that Croc Promotion Chassis provides to you. Available here in the US by Croc Promotion USA. Owned by karting industry veteran Ivan Bodnar, Croc Promotion USA is the importer for the European manufactured brand that has been making history since 2017. Croc Promotion is riding into 2024 celebrating 2 victories in the Miami Warrior Final with Collie Atkinson Sr. and Harry Bartle in junior competition. That same chassis for senior and junior drivers is available here from Croc Promotion USA, along with their KZ shifter kart model, 28mm Cadet, Kid Kart chassis, and the 4-cycle version for the North American market. Croc Promotion USA has dealers reaching the West Coast, Texas region, and the Midwest, and is looking to add to its network in 2024. Visit crocpromotion.us to learn more about the chassis brand and to become our newest dealer. Croc Promotion. Born to ride, ride to live. Let decades of experience and success lead you to the top of the podium. Join Brandon Jarsacrack Racing as your race team at the sport's major events in the United States. Brandon Jarsacrack is a 4-time United States Pro Kart Series champion, along with a multi-time Superkarts USA Pro Tour and WKA Manufacturers Cup Series race winner. Jarsacrack is ranked among one of the best from his generation to get behind the wheel of a racing kart. BJR provides full race team service and support at all USPKS, SCUSA, and Stars Championship Series events, along with trackside programs at the Trackhouse Motorplex in Mooresville, North Carolina. Partnering with Mike Doty Racing, Brandon's team of driver coaches and mechanics are passionate for the sport, providing decades of experience both on the track and working with many of today's karting standouts and current motorsport stars. Brandon Jarsacrack Racing offers a full range of services, including kart preparation, driver coaching, and race event support for both 2-cycle and 4-cycle competitors. BJR is an official LN Racing Kart team with OTK USA and is an official offset sport race team. Contact them today to develop a program based around your needs. Head to BrandonJarsacrack.com to learn more.
And welcome back to This Week in Karting. It is episode 78, June 3rd, 2024. Nate Dean joining me, David Cole, here for episode 78, presented by Rollison Performance Group. We are now getting into our ECAN editorial. A lot happening over the last month. We'll kind of just go through one by one what we've had published and available for you to read on our homepage. ECAN Promoter Series continued with Jeff Scott and the Quincy Grand Prix. So read up on a quick Q&A with the new promoter for the race in the park that'll be happening this week. Again, this weekend, June 8th through the 9th at the South Park in Quincy, Illinois. So that's going to be an exciting weekend. I wish I could go, but got family activities here at home, so unable to make it to Quincy. But I'm sure a lot of street racers are happy to see that return. So kind of get the scoop on it from Jeff Scott and the new promoter of Quincy Grand Prix. Behind the laptop, 1 down, 2 to go was kind of a recap of the first third of the 2024 season. Nate, it seemed like it went by really quick. We're actually into the month of June now. So 5 months are completely completed for this calendar. And we got 7 more months to go, but really only 6 in the kind of the racing season before we really turn into the next season. So a lot's happened over the first 5 months. What do you think? What do you think has been kind of the highlight of the 2024 season so far?
Oh gosh. There's been so many. I don't know. Going back into what you said about it's just going by quick. With how quick the winter programs got us through the winter, I think that was a huge contributing factor, because obviously we had the first weekend off of the 2024 calendar, and then until the end of March, we were racing for every weekend between multiple different series. But at least in the headline categories, to see a lot of different faces on the podium and on the top step for both KA classes have been really, really good to watch. Same with the micro and minis, have really matured in my eyes in the past couple of years in terms of how they've gone racing. So that's been fun to see. And then can't hate the X30 classes in the SCUSA Pro Tour, and then United States Pro Kart Series has been a lot of good storylines and a lot of different faces, like I said, up front, not just one driver dominating. You go to different tracks, you don't know who's going to be up front. So that's been a really fun part of the 2024 calendar thus far.
Yeah, we're kind of in the unknown of who is the premier driver. I know we have our ECAN driver rankings. We'll get into that a little bit, but yeah, you're right. The X30 Pro category has been kind of a toss-up. You have a number of different names kind of throwing their hat in the ring and trying to be the driver to beat each weekend. So that's been the fun part, I think, for 2024 season. But yeah, there's a lot of youngsters coming up that are on the racetrack, very mature and for their age. And so we're seeing a lot of young racecraft kind of develop quickly for the younger categories. ECAN driver diary returning with Peyton Westcott. The California driver is part of the Champions of the Future Academy program, which launched this year. And their opening event was in Cremona, Italy, for their first race. And so we got her to write up a quick diary of that, and we'll be posting actually today her second diary from the Valencia event. So again, a cool spec program. She's racing the OKN senior category, or OK senior category, all on Kart Republic. So kind of a spec program, very similar to what we see with the Academy Trophy in FIA. So make sure you check that out. We got race reports from the Texas Sprint Racing Series Summer Shootout, which was held at the new Kart Moto circuit in Crescent, Texas. And then the Route 66 Sprint Series got its 2024 season underway with an event at Newcastle Motorsports Park. Our ECAN April Driver of the Month was Alan Isambard for his performance at the USPKS Texas Grand Prix from Speed Sports Racing Park outside Houston. And Nate, that was certainly a performance. Alan coming in, supposed to race shifter category, got canceled. He moves over to KA, and then basically comes from 12th in the field all the way up to take the victory towards the end of the race, beating out a lot of local Texas drivers for that win and what was his first USPKS victory. That was a pretty solid performance that we've seen this year.
Yeah, and having to make his way up through the field too, not making it easy for himself in the final, did a really solid job. And like you said, the locals at Speed Sports and the Texas Sprint Racing Series Faithful, very, very quick at Speed Sports as well. So it wasn't by any means an easy drive for the Sodi driver. And then obviously the next race he did not count into the driver rankings, but to back that up with another win at Charlotte at Stars, really, really strong start of the 2024 season for Alan Isambard.
Yeah, pretty cool to see him do very well in the single speed stuff. Race reports from the Race Road Tax U.S. Trophy West Series finale in Grand Junction, along with the California Pro Kart Challenge event at Santa Maria. Those are available along with full trackside coverage from the United States Pro Kart Series, Carolina Grand Prix at the Trackhouse Motorplex. All of that is available online. And then if you haven't checked it out, see the Indy 500 starting grid karting version on the website, which features all 33 drivers that made the start in this year's Indy 500 in a kart or podium from a kart race. So we kind of changed it up. We've been doing a lot of photos of them in a kart, but I liked some of the podium photos that we did find in some of the drivers where they were celebrating a victory or maybe their first ever podium, like Kyle Kirkwood. I think that was like one of his first podium finishes that we utilized there. We saw Alex Rossi celebrating a trophy with Ron Emick of Emick Karts from back in his early days in karting. So Nate, did you have a favorite photo that we did use of the 33 drivers that made this year's Indy 500 start?
I feel like I did. I'm frantically scrolling through to find them, but it was cool to see, especially row 5. We used all podiums for Herta, Pelot, and Ilott to see them with just on the podium and how much they've grown with Pelot and Ilott using both of their photos from WSK from a few years ago. And then Colton Herta, who really doesn't look like Colton Herta at the SCUSA event that we got that photo from. But like it was really cool to see more of the podium photos because we're so used to seeing those grown up versions of those drivers. And then to throw it back a couple years to see what they were like in the karting days, it's always fun.
Yeah, the Christian Lundgaard where he's got the trophy in the air and the other hand pointing up one. That was a favorite podium shot. And of course the Emick photo with Rossi, I think that was one of my favorite ones as well too. Got to use some of the ones I took on track stuff with like Will Power, Joseph Newgarden, the winner, now 2-time winner. That was one of his early years. I think he was racing a Comet Mach 1 chassis, sporting the RoboPong graphics in what I want to say was Yamaha Junior. I think it was a Yamaha Junior category. So the full Penske front row there again. That's always cool to do. We'll try and get some unique ones next year We kind of started late again this year, so we'll try and get going on that maybe during the winter time when some of the drivers have more time to kind of go through their storage units and find old photos of them, or for some of these drivers, everything's digital on them, right? So some of these drivers, they already have digital stuff of when they were kids. So, and then wrapping up our EKN driver rankings presented by Skip Barber Racing School, we have the shifter carts and tag standings from May 27th. So including all the events over the last 12 months from that date. And still the same top three in both: Kyle Wick, Danny Formal, and Martin Kremers, the top three in the shifter cart rankings. And then in the tag division, Ryan Norberg, Alessandro Di Tullio, and then Joe Turney hanging on to third now, picking up a victory at the USPKS Carolina Grand Prix. So keeping him, at least for now, in the top three. But as the season goes on and he doesn't come back to the U.S., because, again, that was his first trip back since his incident in October last year at the World Championships, we'll see him start to fall down and some other drivers come into the top three and kind of maybe change things up at the top. We don't know. Again, once we start removing some of the events from last year, it'll shuffle things up and kind of take the events from 2024 as kind of the primary events towards the driver rankings as we lead up to the driver of the year standings at the end of 2024. So let's get into our EKN podcast review. Again, make sure you download any of our podcasts through iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. I guess Google Play is no longer. iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, other podcast outlets where you may download podcasts. Make sure you subscribe and give us a review. The last episode this week in karting, episode 77, is available for download along with the outlap and debrief from the USPKS Carolina Grand Prix, along with our recent face-to-face episode 78, which featured the Quincy Grand Prix. Again, talking about this weekend's event. So make sure you head to anywhere you get your podcasts and download those shows right now. EKN Radio Network, again, the only 24-hour, 7 days a week channel dedicated to the sport of karting. We'll have this episode of This Week in Karting. We'll continue our rewinds there. We'll keep coming back with some of the old face-to-face roundtable that we did as well, too. We got another face-to-face coming up tomorrow that we'll be recording live or broadcasting live tomorrow night with Keith Freeber from Margay Racing. So that should be fun and exciting. So make sure you watch for that on the EKN Radio Network as well, too. What's coming up on EKN? Again, we'll be trackside June 14th through the 16th at the SuperCarts USA Pro Tour Spring Nationals, heading to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in Batavia, Ohio. Nate Scusa is going to head to the MCC facility for the first time. What do you think are some of the storylines going into that weekend?
At least from what we saw at Orlando, and it's kind of been the same storyline throughout the past couple of years of a lot of drivers do well and chassis do a lot well in the Titan technical circuits, and some do well, like the Newcastles and the Utahs, with Utah being taken out and being replaced by MCC. You have to think those drivers that did well at Orlando will be able to back that up again for their first visit to MCC. Obviously, with trying to figure out who won, at least in KA Senior, like Finnegan Bailiff in K100 Senior did very well there. Obviously, if you did well at Orlando and now you're going to his literal backyard, you have to think he's going to be up there again. But in a 2024 that has seen some of the tightest K100 Senior racing going into MCC, that's the class I have my eye on.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it's going to be exciting to see that. We have a revision of the pro show. They're going to do 2 heat races on Saturday instead of 1 pre-final at the end of the day. So they're going to split up essentially the pre-final, make it 2 races on Saturday. So different championship point structure there because of not having the pre-final. So they'll award points in both heat races. And that'll kind of set the table for the main event on Sunday for both Pro Shifter and for Pro X30. So that'll be interesting to watch that. Yeah, I think that's kind of going to be how, I think weather. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. With Ohio, rain. When I go to Mansfield, Ohio, Father's Day weekend, I've gotten rain. So I gotta think rain could be a factor on the weekend when we were there for USPKS last year. It was rain was a factor, at least leading into the weekend, made it very humid all weekend long with the amount of moisture that was in the ground from the torrential downpours they had the week leading up to it. Did it rain? I think it rained or might have snowed when you were there with Cup Cards North America, right?
Oh, it rained.
Yeah, there you
It
go.
was not fun.
So that might be a story. We didn't have rain in Orlando. It was hot all Orlando, but as we saw what Stars race this weekend, I think everywhere in the Midwest, except for maybe where you are in Minnesota, everywhere got rain. So you had Cup Cards racing in the rain. You had Stars racing in the rain. You had the Ignite Challenge at 61 Cartway racing in the rain. So everybody in the Midwest got rain. So it could be a rain situation, I think, when we get to Spring Nationals. Not saying I want it. I'm just putting it out there. It could happen very well. And then 2 weeks later, we'll head to the Millwright Raceway in Dousman, Wisconsin, June 28th through the 30th for the United States Pro Kart Series Wisconsin Grand Prix. So USPKS heading back to the home of the Badger Kart Club for the first time since the inaugural season in 2013. I was there at that race. It was cool to go to Badger for might not have been my first time, but it is very cool to go to Badger. Very grassroots facility. They've continued to make it a premier racetrack for the state of Wisconsin and for the Midwest as well. So looking forward to going. I don't think they've done anything to the scoring tower. I think it's still the same one from the 1960s. But other than that, the racetrack itself, they added that extension, made it a longer racetrack, and it's probably one of the flattest racetracks you'll ever compete on. I don't think there's anything flatter than Badger, which I don't think a lot of people are used to that. Maybe Homestead, I guess, AMR Motorplex might be the flattest racetrack compared to Dousman, but that's a parking lot essentially, where this is an actual racetrack. So Nate, I got to think this is the flattest racetrack in the country.
I'm going through my mind, just scanning the country, and I can't think of another one that's flatter. And it's funny when you have to compare the next flattest track is a literal parking lot, but like you said, it's going to bring its own challenges. So we'll see who rises to the top there. Obviously with Franklin Motorsports, their drivers are probably going to do well, like Cameron Johnson, who was on pole for his, I think, micro.
Yeah.
Swift or mini Swift. Can't quite remember which one that was.
Micro.
At Trackhouse Motorplex. I think he'll do well there. Same with Brandon Lemke, who was fighting with one of the best karting drivers in the world at the moment. He's going to most likely be up at the front of the pack too. So it'll be interesting to see what those Merlin and Hotes driver development drivers can do up front.
Yeah, all those Midwest drivers who have been to Badger are going to have a little bit of an upper hand on everybody going in, but you got to expect when you get the best of the best there, especially with Thursday practice and Friday practice, you should have it figured out by Friday. You might not know all the little little things about the racetrack, but at least you'll get your baseline set up to be able to be competitive at the front. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Again, kind of an homage to the start of the USPKS going back there for the first time since 2013. So that'll be very cool to be part of the race weekend. It should be a fun one, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of brats and cheese and anything and everything you can eat while you're in Dousman, Wisconsin. So again, follow us on social media: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, the X, or Twitter, as we like to call it. Again, make sure you follow us, like us, subscribe to us on all the platforms. Nate, any final words as we wrap up this show of This Week in Karting?
I'm looking forward to going to a race a national race that I don't have to get on a plane to go to with Dousman. That'll be nice. That's a bit of a change in scenery. Still like a 5 or 6 hour drive, but a bit of a novelty. Looking forward to that.
I like the plane rides. It makes it easier. And I can
Yeah,
catch
fair.
up on my shows and do work if I need to, and not have to. The drive down to Batavia, that's about 6 hours. So that's about my limit. So yeah, it'll be a long drive of a lot of talk show audio going on, and listening to the EKN radio network, and kind of going back and forth from that. So yeah, it'll be cool. You guys will probably get in without any trouble, at least this time, hopefully, to Dousman, unlike it was at Trackhouse with everybody's flights for the entire staff getting canceled or rescheduled. So yeah, that'll be good. So with that, we will wrap up this show of This Week in Karting. Again, episode 78, June 3rd, 2024. For Nate Dean, I am David Cole. Thank you for listening.